So I'm going to walk you through the directions for 2 assignments. We're going to look at the trade trip, and then we're also going to look at pages 1 and 2 of the new workbook, the Eastern Hemisphere workbook. So you got the Eastern Hemisphere workbook if you were in class Thursday or Friday before we left for break. So this was the new workbook that I gave you before the test. The trade trip assignment we got in class, and I know a lot of you finished it. So if you're missing either assignment, go to Canvas, and if you click on Modules in Canvas, and you scroll to the bottom, and you go to Eastern Hemisphere, you'll see the Eastern Hemisphere workbook is posted. So it's right there. And if you go back, you can also see the trade trip assignment is posted as well. So the trade trip assignment has 3 pages. There's a directions page, a questions page, and then a page with a map. So a lot of this assignment is going to ask you to label some things on a map. So if you go to the directions, it says, you are a merchant who travels throughout the world to trade goods and support your family. On the map, locate and label each of the locations below. Locate and label China, India, the Middle East, Russia, and Persia. Locate and label the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, South China Sea, Black Sea, Baltic Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea. Then you're going to color code and label the following trade routes: Silk Roads, Indian Ocean Maritime Route, and Trans-Saharan routes. You're going to use page 430 in the textbook. So to get to the textbook, if you go to Clever and click on My HRW Textbooks, and then the Ancient World History textbook is ours, so click Go to the online textbook. And then this screen will appear, and if you click Book Pages, you can type in the page number that you need. So in this case, we're going to use page 430, so it will take you right there. So there it is. So you can use this to locate and label the trade routes that are all right there. So some of the things that you're asked to label aren't on page 430. So you can use this. This page here will help you out. So this slide, if you want to pause it, you can add a couple of things. So the Baltic Sea is up here. Russia is right here. Persia is right here in what's modern day Iran. Then here's India, and then China. The area I circled in red, that is the Middle East. So you can label that. So you can pause this video and you can label those on your map. You can also then add the trade routes. So the Trans-Saharan trade route goes across North Africa to the Mediterranean Sea. The Silk Road carries items from China to the Mediterranean Sea, going through India and Persia. And then the maritime routes, maritime is a fancy word for like the sea or the ocean. And that leaves from China, going to Southeast Asia to India, and then making its way through the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, or across the Indian Ocean to Africa. So again, you can pause and you can add the trade routes to your map. So after you have that labeled on your map, it asks you in 4 through 11 to place the letter S where you would find silk, circle the area where you would travel to find spices, place the letter T on the location where you would travel to find textiles, label the route you would take to move spices and textiles from India to a market in Europe, place the letter G on the location where you would travel to find gold, draw and label the route you would take to move the gold to the Middle East, and place the letter I in the region where you would encounter Islam, and place the letter B in the region where Buddhism originated. Draw arrows to show where the religion spread. You can find all of that at the bottom of the first page. So all the different things, gold, spices, textiles. Textiles is another word for cloth. So textiles, porcelain, amber, which is a stone, like it's a shiny rock. Paper, crops, water wheels and windmills, compass, Latin sail, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, printing, and paper money. It shows you and it tells you where all these things come from. So for number 8, it says place the letter G on the location you would travel to find gold. So if we look here, gold in West Africa. So on the map, you would put the letter G right here in West Africa. So you're going to do that for the remaining items. So silk, spices, textiles, gold, Islam, Buddhism, and you're going to use this right here. So this assignment is something that you're going to need to keep because later we're going to take some sort of quiz or some sort of assessment, and you're going to be able to use this map to help you. So from this assignment, you should be able to identify a few places. So these places that I have on the screen here with the red and bold, so A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can identify what they are. So we can go over these. So letter A, that location, letter A, is India. Letter B, the location right here, that is Africa. Letter C, down here, that is the Indian Ocean. Letter D over here is the Pacific Ocean. Letter E to the north is Russia. And letter F here is the Arabian Peninsula. And letter G all the way over here in the east, that is China. So you should be able to label all of these places. So you should be able to recognize them. So if I were to give you a quiz with a map and ask you to find Russia, you should be able to do that. You can also, or you should also be able to answer these few questions from the trade trip assignment. So after you complete the map using the directions on the first page, go to the second page and it asks you a few things. So a Muslim trader from the Arabian Peninsula wishes to purchase porcelain. Where does he need to go and what route should he take? So look at the map, or you can use this here. So in this case, he's looking to buy porcelain, and porcelain comes from China. So we could say then that he would need to travel to China to buy porcelain. Porcelain is we talked about this before, it's like a hard clay. So you can buy like different pieces of pottery, like teapots and plates. The best route, or the best road, would be, so if we look at our map, so if we take a look here, the map we completed, so he's in the Middle East and he wants to go to China. The best way to get there is probably the Silk Road, because the Silk Road goes through the Middle East all the way to China. So the best route to take would be the Silk Road. So you're going to repeat that for the remaining few questions. So a question about Buddhism, traveling from Italy, a question about the Latin sail, a West African trader wants to go to China, what route should he take? So you're going to use the map that you did, and you're going to use the directions and the items right here to answer those few questions. So let's take a look at this. So use your map and you can pause it here to quiz yourself to answer these 5 questions. So take a minute to pause the video. So the maritime routes cross which ocean? So that would be the Indian Ocean. Name 2 continents connected by maritime routes. So those would be Africa and Asia. So if we look at the map, maritime route connects Africa and Asia over here. So which route would move gold to the Mediterranean region? So if you label gold on your map, which is in West Africa, the trade route that carries items from West Africa to the Mediterranean Sea is the Trans-Saharan route. Three items found in China. So you're going to have to look here. So 3 items from China. So printing, paper money, paper, compass. So we can add a couple of things here. So we can say compass, paper money. We could also say silk. That's something that comes from China. And then 2 items found in the Indian Ocean region. So same thing if we check Indian Ocean region. So that would be different crops, the Latin sail. So we can say crops are plants. So we could say crops such as sugar and the Latin sail. The Latin sail is a sail that's on boats to help navigate, to help move the boat so it can go in different directions. So trade routes are important because they link different civilizations. So China is then connected by the Silk Road to India, to the Middle East, and then all the way to Europe across the Mediterranean Sea. Africa is linked to Europe, is linked to Asia through trade routes. So civilization is linked together and it's happening through trade. So people are buying and selling different items, different things, cloth, gold, and they're also looking for things like spices and silk. And these items are very expensive because they're being shipped or carried across a lot of land. So these items are being exchanged from Africa to Asia and eventually Europe. And other ideas are exchanged as well. So in addition to buying and selling items like things, people also talk to each other. So they share ideas about their religion, they share ideas about languages. So trade routes help to bring everybody together. Everybody in Asia, so from China to India to Persia, and then in Africa. And in this unit, we're going to look at a couple different African civilizations and how they are affected by trade. And eventually, these items also make their way to Europe. So 3 continents are linked: Europe, Africa, and Asia. So after you finish the trade trip assignment, just keep it, put it aside, and we're going to use it for something later. The next thing you should be working on then is pages 1 and 2 in your workbook. So our new workbook, it's one of these atlas pages. So ideas travel the Silk Road. So it's one of those assignments, we've done these before, where you have to use the atlas pages to help you answer the questions. If you do not have a hard copy, so if you didn't get the hard copy in class, you can do this. I know it's a PDF file, so you can't type on it, but you could open up a separate Google Doc and you could type, like write workbook page 1, number 1, A, B, and then just write the answers that way. And that way you can share it with me and not have to worry about taking a photo or not being able to write on something that you can't write on. So to get the atlas pages, if you go to Canvas and you go back to modules and you click on Silk Road Atlas activity, you'll see that I scanned the atlas pages. So the pages you need for that activity are right here. So just like we've done before, the first few questions go with this part up here. You're going to have to use the timeline and look at different events on the timeline. And you're going to have to go back and forth a little bit because the timeline was split across 2 pages. And you're going to use the map. Don't forget to use the key. So look closely at the key to figure out what all of this means. And you're going to have to use the different pictures around the map. So A, B, and then picture C, D, and picture E are right here. So you're going to have to read over all of those things to answer the questions that go with the atlas assignment on pages 1 and 2. So like I said, if you don't have a hard copy, you can do this separately in a Google Doc and just type out the answers. So you could type at the top, workbook page 1, number 1, A, B, number 2, A, B, C, and you can just type the answers that way. So hopefully this answers some of your questions. I know a lot of you have emailed me asking for help with these assignments. And this Eastern Hemisphere workbook and the trade trip, this is all stuff that's going to be related to 4th quarter. Please email me if you have any other questions.